Hey, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Wario World for the Nintendo GameCube. So, last time we have managed to able to completely done with every single part in Pecan Sands, as far as I'm aware, and we actually did collected about all of these, every single collectibles throughout that level, despite how long that stage will took. At least it probably took me about, let's just say, more than 40 minutes on that particular level, but I just want to point that out. So even then, today for this episode, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the grand finale of this game's Let's Play. Because of this, we're about to not only just able to conclude Sparkle Land in general, but also we managed to able to actually decide to beat the likes of not only one, but two boss fights for today. So even then, such as like the actual main boss, or the main world of this boss, and especially noticeable with the forms of the final boss in the game. So even then, hopefully we'll get this thing to it, and let this get this thing started with, the actual next boss fight, which appears to be Captain Skull. And yeah, Captain Skull was basically just a pirate after all. So basically, all we need to do in this particular boss fight is very simple. Basically, we need to go straight towards him. It doesn't matter which side you're going to go to. And simply just beat the crap out of him. And that's all you really have to do. But that doesn't end off here, however, though. Because eventually, whenever we get to the fourth section, or the fourth phase, and the final phase, well, he might actually do something a little bit differently, because as soon as we're able to actually keep on doing exactly the same stuff as to be expected, well, with the actual barrels, they actually did manage to show up from time to time in between those two, well, I would say the actual split-up ship, and it appears to be we need to able to utilize the barrels until whenever we get onto this next phase right now. Because if you ever think about it, well, if you really originally trying to able to beat the likes out of the forms of Captain Skull, well, he just managed to able to defend himself. So the only way you can only to attack him at this point is that, not only just to able to actually just, trying to distract him by simply have some constant amount of punches on him, but also, every time whenever he decides to able to actually decide to do that technique, he actually decides to able to utilize the actual dash attack as well. Kind of like how he did for Wario. Excuse me, I ate some chili dogs again, I do apologize for that. So yeah, this is how you're supposed to do. Basically, we do need to able to utilize the barrels, although, unfortunately though, that this will actually be one of the hardest boss fights in the game in my opinion. This is probably because if you somehow manage to run out every single of those barrels, I'm presuming, well, unfortunately for you though, it's the fact that every time you run out of barrels, well, there's no way we can able to get those things recovered. So you have to, like, do this within a singular run through, because without that, well, it makes the actual boss fight pretty much unbeatable. I'm guessing that's what I'm going to be thinking of. But even then, all we need to do is just basically just toss the barrel right at the forms of the Captain Skull and ramps to repeat and all that stuff. So, to be expected is one of the somewhat of a trickier boss fights in the game to meet though, but when you get the hang of it though, especially noticeable, you need to save up a lot of those barrels in to begin with. No way, after about 5 hits later, then, well, Captain Skull is concluded. So he rolls off to the actual ship and he falls down the water, and soon enough, Captain Skull has been, defeated. And in addition with that, we got ourselves the final key in the actual big treasure chest. So even then, now we can able to figure out how we can able to open up the big treasure chest to begin with. So even then, well, turns out we might actually come across into ourselves the final boss in the game. So even then, pretty excited about this. So even then though, World 4 is being concluded. So even then, yeah, we got ourselves the fourth and the final key inserted, and soon enough we'll able to actually find out whenever we get into that big chest. So, not much news related stuff I'm afraid though, just because of how the fact that we're actually getting pretty close towards the end of Wario World. So either way, yeah, one thing I forgot to show you about this is the fact that every time you fell off into the actual hub worlds maps like this, or the actual worlds I should say, basically what it allows you to do is the fact that it instantly managed to let you go back into the actual, the main hub, as you can see right there, instantly. So, and with these books right there, they act out pretty much a safe spot. So, not much else to really talk about this at this point in time. So anyways, let's get into the forms of the final area. So in this case, we need to go to this particular point. Now, if you're wondering what is up with the actual square panels, as you can see, between the left side as well as the right side, well, not only do we get ourselves Wario and also Jimmy T, 9-Volt, Mona, as well as, you know, Cat, as well as Orbeon, and as well as Dr. Crygor, and finally Dribble and Spitz. Well, to be more specifically, Dribble, because this game did usually came out the exactly same year as when WarioWare Inc. Minigame Mania was being released for the Game Boy Advance, so that's why the Game Boy Advance cable link system actually comes in. But I'm not going to show all of that though, because I still haven't, you know, having access to the actual Game Boy Advance cable link though, to able to show off the special demo or anything like that. But even then though, there is a ton of videos about that as soon as you're able to find out. So anyways, let's get up to the actual big treasure chest, and soon enough we'll able to actually unlock the actual, well, the chest itself. So the black jewel has been released out of the actual big treasure chest, and look at all that. The actual hub world is being destroyed. So it turns out we have the final boss in the whole game, which appears to be the black jewel. Now, unlike in any other bosses for that matter, including the first boss that normally has like 3 health, whereas compared to any other boss fights it only has like 5. This particular final boss, on the other hand, though, actually has more health compared to the forms of the previous boss fights, because now it actually has 8 health, and it's a good thing we actually got ourselves the exact amount of those hearts, as you can see right there, because if you're trying to able to go for this final boss with a lesser amount of health, well, it might be pretty unbeatable at points. So basically, all you need to do in this entire boss fight is very simple if you manage to know what you're doing. Basically, as you can see, he managed to able to send down, let's just say, 5 of those spirit lings, which appears to be in the exact same color order. And the deal with this is the fact that we need to release all 5 of those spirit lings until you're able to deal the damage on the actual black jewel. So that way you can able to actually deal with that. However, here's the thing about this is the fact that you need to avoid a lot of hazards, such as the forms of the actual flames, as well as the forms of, well, honestly, Black Jewel wasn't all that really much of a big of a challenge to me though. Well, apart from the fact that he will occasionally able to actually block my progression when it comes to like freeing some of these Spearlings, if you couldn't tell. Unless if you really want to try to cheat your way for able to actually save the Spearlings so that you can able to bypass the flames, which, although, unlike the forms of how it does it on the forms of the previous worlds, if you couldn't tell, there is no garlic dispenser, so even then, we have to do this on the first attempt, I believe, and luckily for me though, we didn't get a single game over at this point, so even then, because we'll point things out whenever we get to the credit sequence, as well as the actual my final thoughts of the game, so either way, you know, there's not much else I can really say about this boss fight, honestly, though. You have to do this Ramsey repeat. Sometimes, though, he can go all over the place when it comes to his attacks, most notably with his, you know, his flames attack and all that stuff, most notably due to its laser eye. And, every time you're able to free 5 of those, you know, these little Spearlings, then you would able to actually just let the Black Jewel get stunned. Then after, when you do so already, you can either just toss him out of the arena, or you can just simply just use the ground pound technique. Honestly, I prefer the ground pound technique a little bit more, just because it's a little bit satisfying to able to pull it off. And second of all is the fact that it makes it a little bit quicker to deal the damage on the actual Black Jewel itself. So, yeah, you get the drill for that point. So anyways, let's go ahead and just smack its head down, and hopefully we actually on the halfway point. And vice versa though, it's basically Ramsey repeats, basically, apart from the occasional moments where sometimes though you would able to actually shoot out the actual the laser, so that you can able to actually just block my progression. And sometimes you always have to wait until the actual fire goes away, and even then though, if you get the hang of it though, then you would able to do it just alright. Excuse me, I'm really sorry about that, folks. I keep on belching at this point today because then again, with chili dogs, I just keep on eating. So, Anyways though, so let's go ahead and smack him down for about the 5th time. And I think I should probably talk about my final thoughts of this game until before we get to the staff credit sequence while the final boss is still going. Honestly, this is a very unique Wario game, at least to me though anyway though. At least, to be more specifically, the uniquest Wario platformer games I've ever played. Sure, it might have a lot of issues, which that can be only being quite a few things worth mentioning though, but we'll point that out whenever we get to the credit sequence. But let's get to the actual positive stuff out of the way when I was going to be able to, you know, deal with the forms of that particular final boss, as you can tell right there. Apart from the fact that I'm probably not going to show you guys the actual extra videos at this point in time, because, you know, we're actually getting very close towards the end. Well, apart from the fact that, well, if you're actually missing out some of these spiritings, we actually get ourselves the different endings you might actually get. You know, similar to the forms of how it does it in Luigi's Mansion for the GameCube, along with the forms of, well, I'm not going to spoil things too much on Luigi's Mansion 3, because that game literally came out during the forms of a couple of days ago at this point, so... Yo, one minute though is that particular fire attack can be pretty annoying to dodge, but anyway, so let's give the actual positive feelings about this game. The good thing about this game though is the fact that the visuals do look very good, even for its time, and sometimes though the actual enemy's design can be a little bit creepy looking, but I don't mind about it too much though, because even then, that's what it does back in the day for the actual creepy boss fights back then. But every now and then now in the future, it decides to get a little bit more simplistic as it goes. But that's not to say the actual point right there. And the story is pretty simple. You just basically just have to restore your castle back to where it was. You know, it's kind of like the similar story as the forms of Wario Land 2, except the fact that we have a different villain, which is as opposed to the forms of Captain Syrup, where usually Captain Syrup wants to steal something from Wario. But in the forms of Wario World, well, after when the Black Draw has been released by the actual underground treasure, well, he'll able to actually vanquish the actual Wario's castle in Dealey. So, as you can see right there, we defeated the final boss of the entire game, so let's watch the ending to Wario World. So yeah, we ended up in a white abyss, so, and there's also a couple of spiritings trying to able to gather around. You did it. Of course, thank you. Is there anything else you can say right here? You defeated all of the evil monsters. Everything will be alright now. Wario, we're saved. Thank you. The evil Black Jaw has been smashed into powder. Or to powder, I should say. The monsters won't come back now, but even if they do, I think we can handle them. As a reward, we're going to rebuild your ruined castle. We spiritings aren't that, you know, strong, so without a lot of us, I doubt we can rebuild your castle right, but we'll do our best with what we have. Here it goes. And basically, the only difference is if you don't go after any of the spiritings at all, is the fact that if you don't manage to rescue all of them, sometimes it gets the replacement by caged up spiritings, as you can tell. But since we actually freed all of them, which again, there are about all 40 of them in total, so even then though, we can guarantee we can actually get ourselves a much more better ending. So even then, because we'll point that out whenever we get to it though, and yeah, it's kind of stretchy looking for Wario's face reactions right there, but hey, that's how it usually goes. So even then though, I've already mentioned about the positive things about this game so far, such as the forms of the actual gameplay. It looks very cool looking, but even then though, that's usually that actually represents for this part. And the story is very simple for the most part, and the graphics do look very good, even for the Nintendo GameCube standards. Well, despite with the forms of some questionable enemies' design looks and all that stuff. And also, the music is actually pretty cool to listen to. I think my favorites will have to be specifically Greenhorn Forest World or Excitement Central, just because most of these songs on that particular world will bring back on, you know, Dancing Stage Mario Mix, as well as Wario Land the Shake Dimension for the Wii. So even then, as for everything else though, it's pretty okay when it comes to the soundtrack department to me though anyway though. And the controls, it's really flawless. I will say it is the best looking controls I've ever able to actually help from. The only negative things about this game though is the fact that first of all, this game is way too short in comparison to the forms of any other Wario platformer games, and second, the game itself is rather easy compared to the forms of any other Wario platformer games here and there too. And finally, because of the forms of how short this Let's Play can be, there is little to little content after able to gather 100% completion throughout, unless if you really want to go for the best ending or something like that. Well, there's not much replayability apart from the fact that you do have like 3 save slots and all that stuff so that you can replay the game again. But I digress. So even then though, kudos to the developers of this game, specifically if we manage to go all the way down to the very bottom of the credits. But even then though, at the end of the day, if you have your Nintendo GameCube and give this game a shot, I think I should probably recommend you able to get this game. Although, some people seem to say about the fact that the Wario Land series is probably the best Wario platformer games out there. But hey, at least it's more accurately, this game is more accurately the 3D version of Wario Land, but with a huge emphasis on beat 'em up. So yeah, I should definitely recommend it, and I certainly recommend it. So kudos to Treasure Video Games that also did the same developer as, well, Sin and Punishment and Dynamite Headdy, and as well as Gunstar Heroes for the Genesis or Mega Drive if you're in Europe. So there we go. This is the best ending image, as you can see right there, and basically we got ourselves a very special message. You know, it's kind of like the same thing for Luigi's Mansion basically. So that's it. That's the stuff. Now, that's a kind of place a guy like me deserves. So yeah folks, that concludes our Let's Play of Wario World. So this is me, Sonic the Hedgehog, and until then, I will be back for some more of Kingdom Hearts Final Mix in the future. So see you then. Ciao.